There you go. Recording. Flip the camera on. Hey, listeners, and a special hey, hi, and hello to all you incredible patrons out there. Remember, you can join the Patreon for just $1, $2, $5 a month. You can find the link to the Patreon in the episode notes. Now, I'll be honest, I repurposed the Patreon a little bit because Ben and I do so much. So I made the Patreon just We Are the Wallen Family. You can still use the link in the show notes to support us as we journey out into this world of content creation. A few patrons I want to shout out right here, right now is Brittany Barker, Tiffany, Hannah Parker, Deborah Adeyemi, Carissa, Caitlin Green, Emma Halpern, River, Katie, Tyra Rimpert, and Samantha Harrant. Remember, patrons, we also give away a book each month. We're currently reading the book we're supposed to give out last month, Black Sun, but we will be sending out the book Twisted Tales by Brandon Massey, a collection of short stories, because we love them so much. Now, Ben has something to say, and then we'll get started with the show.
We also write notes when we send them out. I write thank you notes.
Yes, we do. They're very heartfelt. They're from the entire Wallen family. Sorry, I'm moving you in so that those cameras. You know, we're always updating things here, but we do write you a little personalized note, and thank you for supporting our family. So get into that if you want to hear from us for those raffles. Now let's get started with the show. Welcome to the Sci-Fi Sci under the Believe Podcast Network. It's a podcast about Black science fiction, Black fantasy, and staying on the same page as a family. As you can see, we're joined here today by Wild Wiggles, but she is knocked out, baby, because we keep it loud in our house. Today for episode 94, we'll be discussing the film Neptune Frost, directed by Saul Williams and Anisia Uzeyman. I'm laughing. If you're watching the YouTube, you'll see Ben grab my head, to which I thought he was going to start massaging my head, but he was just forcing my head into the microphone. I'm doing the best I can, but Wiggles is sitting right here. Anyway, Ben, how are you doing today?
I finished watching Star Trek The Voyage Home with our baby this morning as I was I guess feeding her. I'm not nursing her if I'm feeding her a bottle, right? That's not nursing.
That would be correct.
But she really enjoyed it. She liked the whales singing.
She liked Star Trek.
She likes Star Trek. I'm going to win her over. She's going to be a Star Trek fan. We're going to watch Star Trek, all of it in its entirety. Very excited to do that.
I hope that does become y'all's show, so I don't have to watch it with you. I think that's beautiful.
You don't watch it with... have you watched any Star Trek? I think I made you watch maybe 1 or 2 episodes. You need to watch The Measure of a Man. That would be really good.
I think it's important for you to have a show that's just yours, that's just a good show. Having a good show is like having a little piece of chocolate to yourself, like a little candy.
Yeah,
it's
that no one else
But you don't have to hide
eats.
it and eat it in your car. You can just eat it out in front of me, and I can just, keep going on with my day. Because I feel that way about certain shows. The only thing has been, when it comes to my reality show trash, you feel the need to constantly remind me how trashy the show is. Whereas when I walk in and you're watching Star Trek, I'm like, good for you. I'll leave you alone.
Well, yeah, because it's Star Trek. You can't trash Star Trek, but I can definitely trash... Below Deck, Australia.
No, you can't. If that's my show and my form of escapism, what's the big deal?
Those shows are literally designed to be trashed.
Right, and William Shatner is just like a saint.
Leonard Nimoy is, definitely.
Yeah, but that's not who I said. I said William Shatner.
Shatner. It's an unfortunate name.
And Will Wheaton.
Amber, how does it feel to be on Beyonce's internet? Do you know
yes.
Beyonce has seen you, and also Cardi B?
Cardi
they know, they don't know who you are.
They don't.
But they've seen you.
At least their team has seen me, and that's good enough for me. If you all missed the incredible news last week, Beyonce entered the TikTok realm. She dropped her very first TikTok video featuring her new summer single, Break My Soul. And I was one of the featured creators in that video, which I'm very excited about.
Your soul is broken?
Yes, I'll be.
No,
it's not broken. I won't allow you to
break
soul. My soul. Because... So what happened was Parkwood Entertainment, which is Beyonce's team, they hit me up about 2 weeks before to say thank you for letting us use your content. Do you reply yes, thank you, if you give us consent to use it in a video.
Why
So
don't
I
you
just
send that
said
to
yes,
your
thank you.
agent and be like, can you get me some money out of this?
Because when Beyonce calls, if Beyonce said, "Hey, we would like to use your clip and it'll cost you $50," I would have done the opportunity.
You would have paid Beyonce.
Absolutely. This is y'all say. I mean,
What else has? Oh yeah, you developed like a Tea Party character. Can you please do that voice for everybody? You went to a tea party, you developed this amazing Tea Party character, which I actually gave you feedback.
You helped me.
I helped you develop that character. Can you give it?
Yes, I will. So you have to give things. You got to work on your context, baby.
Context.
So baby. So last week, everyone, my friend had a bridal shower at Dr. Bombay's Underwater Tea in Atlanta or Decatur, if you want to be one of those people. And it was tea party, so we were all tasked with coming to the tea party, in character. And that's a really high-pitched tea party, but the entire time at tea, I did a little voice every time we had tea and crumpets and talked about the very happy couple. So I really had a good time at tea, and I cannot wait to take Wild to tea party with me, or just have like little tea parties at the house. I think that would be super fun.
It wasn't required for you to come in character. You just did.
I came in character.
So
it's so hard. I have such a deep voice.
I was thinking about the title of this tea place, though, and how it just all relates back to colonialism, because it's Dr. Bombay, but the design of it was English, but Bombay is actually now Mumbai.
The design was actually more Asian than English.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
it was.
Interesting. More Indian or like Asian?
Well, India's in Asia, no?
But yeah,
mean,
I
like,
guess when
East
Americans say Asian, when Americans say Asian, we think of Southeast Asia, or more specifically East Asia. And when when English folks say Asian, they think specifically of India and Pakistan.
Yeah, well, the design of it was more like kimonos and what are those umbrellas called?
Oh, interesting. But it was called Dr. Bombay. How is it?
Yeah.
But Bombay is in India. Wow. So it had to be was it run by white people?
Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
So we're going to call something Dr. Bombay, but then we're going to give it an East Asian flavor. And then you're going to come in dressed as English.
Yes, all of that may be
So
true,
many
but
levels of
you
colonialism.
were just a little jealous that you weren't invited to the tea
Sort of
party,
was.
Daddy.
I gave you an opportunity to come with us, so you went back and forth.
I was
you
here
ultimately decided not
calming
to.
Wiggles, calming Wild. She was a little bit fussy. I wish I would have known, though, because we recently discovered a new calming song for Wild. Would you care
You
to
and these segues today. Wait, what
you-
did you do while I was out at the tea party?
I basically read and wrote and hung out with the baby. I think I went on a run. Yeah, it was fine. I think I probably watched a couple episodes of Family Feud, because I always watch episodes of Family Feud when I stay home with your parents.
Yeah, my parents are obsessed with Family Feud reruns. And of course, Ben feels the need to remind them as they're watching this show in their own home how horrible it is.
I have
'Cause
never
it's like,
said
why?
that. I have
yes,
never.
you come in from runs and you're like, why are y'all watching this crap?
I have never said
which you do to me all the time, but I think you underestimate how often you've been now doing that to my family. And I'm like,
I don't think I've done it.
But when you're watching,
I feel like
Shatner,
Family Feud
everybody
is
leaves you alone.
sacred. I would never.
No, you
publicly
drag Family Feud as well.
Drag Family Feud.
Some of the questions on Family Feud are so cringy, though. It'll be like, we're watching the ones where Steve Harvey's hosting. It'll be like,
It's sexist.
if Steve Harvey was to massage your body, which part would he start with first?
That's your Steve Harvey.
I'm just
voice.
like, what? What kind of which part would you like Steve to start with first?
Family
It's
Feud
like,
is why we
"My
still
pussy,
have
Steve."
the
You're
gender
like, whoa.
binary, because every question is like men, women, men, women.
We asked 100 men.
The question, it's a sexist show.
What
anyway.
what part of a woman's body is the most attractive? Final answer.
Back to the calming
And my dad's
song.
over there just like, titties, Steve.
Back
and
to
my
the
mom's doing the same thing. Ass, Steve, ass.
back to the calming song. Can you sing the new calming song that I wish I knew when you went on this tea party on your own?
Wiggles really enjoys Nicki Minaj's verse in Trey Songz' Bottoms Up. It gets her to sleep every single time.
It's so profane. I love it.
You would like me to?
I would like you to sing it to
right.
her. She's sleeping.
If you know it, sing along. Here we go. Dun, 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 dun. Here we go. Can I get that Tron? Can I get that Remy? Can I get that Coke? Can I get that Henny? Can I get that margarita on a rock? Can I get salt all around that rim tray? I was like, yo, Trey, do you think you could buy me a bottle of rosé? Okay, let's get it now. I'm with a bad bitch. He with his friends. I don't say hi, I say keys to the biz. Keys to the biz. Keys to the biz. Motherfucking right, yeah, G to the 10. If a girl try to get cute, I'ma stop her. Throw a lot of money at her, then yo, fucker. Then yo, fucker. Then I'ma go and get my Louisville slugger. Excuse me? I'm sorry. I'm really such a lady. I rep Young Money, you know Slim, baby. And we be doing donuts while we wait for the 380. We give a lot of money to the babies out in Haiti, yelling all around the world. Do you hear me? Do you like my body? Anna Nikki, rest in peace to Anna Nicole Smith. Yes, my dear, you're so explosive. Say hi to Mary, it's Mary and Joseph. Tell them bottoms up and double my doses.
Wow.
That's when you clap, yeah. Well, you don't clap. I needed more
awesome.
breath than the queen, Onika.
I think Amber hates when I swear around wild, but apparently
Nicki Minaj is safe.
Apparently it's okay if you're singing or rapping Nicki Minaj.
It is, but and look at our child now.
Yeah, she's
dead. She's dead. Wow, this
not yet.
incredible.
Eventually, we all die.
Stop it! Stop. Okay. Ben, the next, since I just had an opportunity to, grace you with my rap talents, a regular Lin-Manuel Miranda I am. Now, Ben will give you an opportunity to share, all of you out there, not by us taking your money via Patreon, but by giving us those free Apple Podcast reviews that we love, love, love. We recently came across an Apple Podcast review that
was 4 stars.
They gave us 4 stars because they really had some issues with some things we have to say. But, well, no, they really had some issues with just one specific episode. But you know what? I'm going to read it. Ben's going to read it because I want to acknowledge that this person listened to the show.
Thank you.
Maybe they subscribed, maybe they did it, but they gave the show a chance. And if they hated it, that's fine.
Hate
but they
is just
gave
as
us
helpful as love on the internet.
I think if you
publicly hate us and then support us.
I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I truly respect someone saying, I'm giving y'all a chance and then hating it. That's fine. Now you go read it.
All right. So they wrote, love this couple. Just started listening to the podcast after following them on social for a while. 4 stars because the Eve's Bayou episode was the second I listened to. It's my favorite movie of all time, and I was excited to hear a take from their perspective. However, many of the things they mentioned in the movie were incorrect. There was not rape or molestation. And then they also go on to say that I think in that episode, we incorrectly said that the aunt, played by Debbie Morgan, didn't live with them. And I think we said that Debbie Morgan lived with the family. The grandma lived with them. And she wrote, it was incredibly frustrating to hear the movie I like so much and know so well. And they're accurately described.
Just because we got somebody's address wrong, it was incredibly
okay, but she gives her whole reading. And I do want to say that this is her reading of the film, and she disagrees with our reading with the film. If you look at like criticism of Eve's Bayou, some people actually still believe that Samuel L. Jackson did rape the character played by Megan Good, his daughter. But that's just, she disagreed because watching it, there are certain glances and looks that Samuel L. Jackson's character, I forgot his name, gives to his daughter, Megan Good. And she disagreed with my reading of that. But if you go and read criticism, they say, actually, no, it's meant to be nebulous and that there's not just one reading of it. So, I mean, she disagrees with our reading or interpretation. By the way, when you do film criticism, I realized that you can say reading of the film, which I thought was fascinating because I think that shows that watching a film sometimes requires as much energy as it takes to read. Anyway,
I enjoyed that. And sometimes this person, once again, I want to thank, what does it say? AQLUP for submitting this rating, because this is actually what the show is all about. It's about discussing films, discussing movies, reviewing films, reviewing movies. And so this was like basically like us having a discussion forum via Apple Podcast reviews. So I'm here for it. If you're out there, reach out to us on Instagram. Maybe we can, I don't know, continue some discourse about this because it was really cool to hear that. We disagree. I definitely think there was some well, there was blame on the father's side when it came to the scenes with the daughter. But I do know Kasi Lemmons, the director, sort of meant for it to be like not very blatant.
Yeah, one side or the other.
Cool.
But talking about doing work and watching a film, we watched
God.
Neptune Frost. That requires there is no hand holding in this film. The plot, it jumps back and forth between dreams and waking, and Amber hates that kind of stuff. She likes her hand held a little bit when she's watching a film.
I don't, but sometimes you have to do like as a comedian, you got to give the audience a little bit. Like you don't have to fill in the blanks of everything, but you got to actually set up a sentence and write blanks in it. And so that for me was missing.
The directors don't. The director is Saul Williams and Anisia Uzeyman. They don't care about that. I mean, this is a low budget film, so they made it because it was a passion project, and the plot is not really driven. It's more focused on like discussion and more focused on a future of Africa in which Coltan, which is in every single one of our cell phones and should be making the entire continent one of the richest in the world, but it's not because of lots of complex reasons. It's about the discussion of Coltan. And I first heard of Saul Williams listening Janelle Monáe. And so Janelle Monáe had Saul Williams on there. And
Janelle Monáe brought us here.
Yes. And so Coltan, he has a song called Coltan is Cotton, where basically explaining that Coltan is the new cotton. And being in the South, I just, it's so crazy for me because I'll go running and I'll be like running and I see something says River Bottom Plantation, or I'll go running and it says the Plantation Buffet. And that's like having something called, River Bottom Concentration Camp, or like come to the concentration camp buffet.
Auschwitz Avenue.
You're like, just, oh my God, is this BYOS, bring your own shackles, or like what? Like what the hell? It's absurd. It's
nice joke,
it's literally absurd. It's so fucking absurd.
Let me say this. So for listeners who are just tuning in, Ben and I live in Chicago, or just kind of like starting episodes randomly. We live in Chicago and we're spending the summer at my parents' house in Georgia. Obviously, the South is notorious for slavery. But it's so interesting that because of the lack of critical race theory and because of like America trying to do this job of hiding their pasts, that certain words have these weighted meanings, Because at the end of the day, a plantation, like look up the definition of a plantation. I'm sure it comes from plants, right? Okay. What is a plantation? An agricultural estate. But so if you went to maybe a different country and there was an agricultural estate, there is no such association with that word and slavery. But in America, there is. And I remember thinking about this because randomly on RuPaul's Drag Race UK, a contestant once made a dress out of cotton. And I remember by the drag queen and Monet Exchange being like, you could have never made that dress in America. Well, I mean, tons of our clothes are made out of cotton, but like the physical like cotton balls with the weevils and things like that. But even saying the word cotton in America has coded language. Even if you're talking about just something random, if you're talking about tissue paper, you're like, the cotton in this, it's just like a bit of a cringy moment. If you say the word like breathe right now, like, ooh, I can breathe really clearly today. So certain words and certain phrases in America, because we have such a dark past and because we have not done a good job atoning for that dark past, like henceforth the word slavery, obviously slavery, but henceforth the word plantation will always have this darkness to it. Isn't that interesting? So like where you are running
for black people, but people in the South, especially white people, do not have that association because of the lack of historical education.
Right. So do we now change the name of every plantation?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
But
we
a
have to come to terms
plantation
to that.
is an agricultural estate.
No. But it's an agriculture.
Obviously, I'm
but
not
in modern
arguing,
times, modern plantations today are mostly run by people who are migrant workers who are being paid low wages. But the whole idea to uphold a plantation required a plantation house and it required free slave labor. And so
Right.
African slave labor was the only use of work in early plantations.
In the U.S.
And throughout the Caribbean,
Well, throughout the
the
country.
Americas, and
I'm just
European
saying-
occupied areas of Africa. So
Okay,
reading Wikipedia.
Can I give you an example? Obviously, I think America should talk about this and whatever, but if you have an agricultural estate that you're potentially trying to sell in the future, should you call it another name?
Yeah, you need to change it. Sort of like if I create a camp for kids where they can go and concentrate, I'm not going to call it a concentration camp.
Right. Okay. Let me do a more modern example. What the real estate industry is doing now.
Call it a farm. It's a farm.
It's a farm. What the real estate industry is doing now is calling, you'll go do a tour of a house, right? And they'll call the biggest bedroom the primary suite now instead of the master suite. And my problem is I think people think that they're doing some really good work when they just change the word. But it's you can call this the master suite, but what are you doing that actually has long-term implication?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But people think we'll just change the name of this plantation into a farm. Even it's but black blood.
And that's
still,
all I will do.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say.
And I did
what
my
I'm trying
work.
to say.
It's I
Yes.
directed a movie called Beasts of No Nation, and now I don't have to support, I don't have to do anything else. It's
well, what do you want us to do? We changed the name of the master suite to primary suite. It's I want you to actually go read and discuss.
I
and
watched
think
The
critically.
Blind Side, and now I don't have to pay my taxes. And
Yes.
and then I showed up to the premiere in my $1 million dress.
Yes. I just think it's a little so when I see something still called River Bottom Plantation, I don't mind it. I'm yes, sit in the fact that this area that we're running on used to be ran by slaves, and maybe let me go look it up.
No, because... So
you think they should change the name
because
of it?
the word plantation is not associated with the rape, the castration, the murder of, thousands and thousands, and then the millions of people who have been affected by the slave
Or you know what they
trade.
should do? They should not change the name of it and post something there that's, that says where you're running right now used to be a site of devastation or something. I just feel and I'm not trying to say so you want us to keep all the Confederate statues up? I'm no, I'm like you. I want them to be in a museum and say this used to sit at the city center because motherfuckers were uneducated. You know what I mean? But I think we just do a lot of performative stuff when we just try to change the name of a street and carry on. It's I think we're even having this discussion because they didn't change the name.
Perhaps. Yes, and no. The plot of this film, though, and I want to get back to what you said about arbitrarily doing something just to for staturing purposes and not actually trying to make a change. And
Right.
The directors of this film, they're shooting a low budget film. They are literally hiring actors. Some of them were war survivors to make this film. And when you
Really?
create
Some of the actors?
Yeah. And
See,
so
that's really awesome.
and so when you create a film that is low budget like this, right, you sort of avoid the intense hypocrisy that comes with exploring the issues this film explores, which is exploitation, specifically of Coltan miners in parts in this case where they're shooting at Rwanda and Burundi. You sort of avoid creating this whole, get up and then going to Hollywood and going to a $1 billion premiere. I exaggerate, right? It's like when,
I agree.
and I think of Beasts of No Nations. Like, we're going to create this great film, and then we're going to get an Academy Award, and we're going to show up in our tux that's worth, $600, $800, and we're going to, like, there's this level of just two-facedness to the whole thing. And then,
Yeah, absolutely.
and we're going to shoot this thing, we're going to talk about it on our phones. That is, you literally, like, when we hold our phone, we use our phones because of Coltan mined by African workers. And in the Congo and parts of the Congo where this mineral is mined, it's destroying the habitat of, the animals there. So the plot very basically is a group of escaped Coltan miners forms an anti-colonialist computer hacker collective in the hilltops of Burundi. And then they soon attempt to take over the authoritarian regime that's exploiting the region's natural resources and its people. This film is
almost
just
like
beautiful.
A union.
Yeah, they're a union.
A sci-fi union of miners.
Yeah, and they have like the coolest fashion ever.
Oh, that saved it. That made it slightly more, it's like when you put hot sauce on chitlins. It's like, that made it digestible, but at the end of the day, we're still eating like sheep belly and shit.
I love
pig intestines.
I love coming here home and talking with your friends. And one of your friends, Crystal, was telling me, we saw her and I thought of a memory. But I love talking to your childhood friends because I discover things about you I didn't know. But she was like, yeah, Amber could just go to a thrift shop and mix and match things and just throw shit together. Like you're very
I'm good at turning shit
you're really
into sugar.
Specifically my shit into sugar. I'm your sugar shit.
I can't do nothing with you, Ben. I've tried to style you, whatever. People message me on a daily being like, you should style Ben and dress him up in this. Ben is his own person. I can't help him. He's going to do what he does. He's wearing swim trunks right now.
Yeah, and my Mystery Science Theater 3000 MST3K. Yeah.
And that's fashion to Ben. I can't do nothing with that. But I used to turn the looks back in the day when I would just like go to Plato's Closet or go to the thrift store. So I can appreciate, back to this film, I can appreciate so many things. I can appreciate the fashion. I can appreciate you hired local talent. I can appreciate the singing was great. But as one body of work, it was just really challenging to get through. And maybe that's because I'm an American watching it and it's
well
like
he's
I want to know how it
plot.
was.
Our sense of how plot should work,
right? You know how foreign films are with us.
It's a challenging film. It's not foreign. I mean, Saul Williams is American.
Well, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I know what
the film is in a different language, and so sometimes I'm thinking to myself, like, is this the plot not being driven well, or is this how this plot goes in another country? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do I sound stupid?
No. I think this film would, for any viewer, would be difficult to watch and to sort of understand.
It was difficult. Anytime I learned with this film, like, if you read a description of a film and it has like art house in the title, go in with a word of like, say to yourself, okay, this is not freaking J-Lo and Matthew McConaughey, The Wedding Planner. This is going to be some complex shit. I remember Ben saying, I would put this movie on mute at a party that we threw just to look pretentious. But
yeah,
it is very difficult.
It's also stunning to watch. Like, the colors are vibrant and it's shot in the mountains of in parts of Rwanda and Burundi, and sort of you see these beautiful images and it's almost like a dream. Yeah. One of the lines from it is to imagine hell is a privilege. And it just made me think of all those tragedy porn films where, we're going to make this film dealing with child soldiers, or we're going to make this film dealing with, a poor black boy who learns how to play football. And it's such a great phrase, and it just calls out the BS of mainstream Hollywood. And,
I do love that, yes.
Right? And so this film is like, hey, when you create something on your own budget, when you're not making $1 billion film, you're less likely to take advantage of people, right? When you're doing it on your own and the editing on your own. And talking of taking advantage of people, why are just reverends and every reverends everywhere are just terrible people? right? Like,
What, Ben? You and your segues. Okay, so there was a scene in the in the art house film where this preacher came to this guy's house drunk and then basically tried to hit on him and
after he
assault
did the
him.
funeral of his murdered brother.
I don't think that was his murdered brother though.
It was,
Like
yeah.
Techno and Matalusa.
Or
Those were brothers. Not,
Yeah. So
the other guy wasn't their brother.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. Oh, which, by the way, there's an intersex character.
Yes, there is.
And the intersex character is played by two different people, right? And so that decision to do that is I think a beautiful decision that sort of shows the range of what it means to be intersex and what this character is going through. But yeah, you're right. So, and Neptune leaves.
This preacher is definitely still a predator, though.
Yeah.
Just like he's a predator.
Yeah. So it just made me think of like when you have religious leaders with sort of endless power, they do such terrible shit. And it's not just Catholic leaders. Like recently, if those who are following, I always follow Christendom because I'm a son of a preacher, man.
You follow
myself.
what? I didn't hear
Christendom.
that. Christendom. Okay.
Christendom is like everyone who identifies as Christian. So Greek, Orthodox,
It sounds like
Catholics,
you saying
Protestants.
Like Chris and them.
Yeah. You can say
I follow
Christendom.
Chris and them.
I follow Christendom.
Oh, your AAV is horrible, and I love that about you. Like, because, we were just watching that, like, ridiculous Christian Walker video, like, where him and Kaylani got into it. So I was like, you follow who in them? Chris and them.
Christendom. Anyway, what I was trying to say, that's what Amber always says if I interrupt her.
I did interrupt you. I'm sorry.
So Southern Baptist leaders mishandled allegations of sexual abuse, and they stonewalled, like, numerous survivors. And they had a list of, like, hundreds of leaders accused of sexual abuse. And it made me think, like, damn, reverends just suck internationally and nationally.
I think it's really just more so about like men in positions of power or people in positions of power misusing that power. And it's just like, unfortunately, it's very easy to abuse your power as a preacher, as any sort of figure where you're guiding lots of people. We've seen it with Bikram and yoga instructors as well. Like, if you're guiding a group of people in a cult, you're likely going to abuse your power.
And I think there's something of a spiritual nature when someone can use spirituality because they're using like God.
They're like, well, God instructed me to come over here and take off your panties. It's like, huh? No, he didn't. I just, I be watching all that Mormon stuff, and I'm like, this is insanity.
Yes,
and
exactly.
We just watched, what is it? A Girl in the Picture.
Yep.
We're not gonna spoil it, but it's horrible. Like, just set yourself up for men being horrible with that movie.
I think yes, men. For me specifically, when spirituality is combined, has a particularly nefarious element to it. I don't know, maybe because I grew up that way.
And I think it's because the spiritual part of it has like long. This might sound weird to say, but like, okay, if a criminal assaults somebody, like that incident can potentially happen in a vacuum, whereas you could be raised in a church and go there your whole life because you were taught to think that like there's so much opportunity if you are a predator in the church to continue harassing your victims and committing crimes against them. Does that make sense?
It does.
Versus like, oh, I work at this job, this person's horrible, I'll just leave the job.
Yeah.
Or something. I don't know. Not that it's like any more or less, but just way more harm can be done. Especially if your family has been groomed into that religion.
Oof. Church, y'all. And it's not like, it's so hard because especially being here and going to Black church and knowing that Black church is so important and knowing that in American history, Black reverends have been critical for providing like the American consciousness and knowing what ethically should be done, right? So when you have combined that history with the history of, sexual abuse, you're like, man, like there's two sides to this world of both harm and help.
Do you think that I mean, because as we know, Martin Luther King was one of the most like notable figures and leaders like worldwide in the fight against racism and everything. Do you think that if he was not a preacher, that would have been that he could have been as acclaimed? Because there's something about like God that really unites people and calls to people.
Yeah,
like you said, that consciousness.
God bless America. It's tied up in there. Well, when people use the teachings of Jesus for, I guess, social justice, it can be a very powerful experience. But I don't think like long-lasting change in the U.S. or especially ethical change can really come from a leader that is not Christian or has close ties with the Christian church in America context, because we're so obsessed with our Christianity. I don't know. Maybe
I agree with
that's
that.
something we can sort of maybe hack into, because this is a movie about hackers. Hack into our sense of...
I smell what you're stepping in. I get you love a good pun.
Hack into our sense of a religion and what religion means, and maybe can an atheist provide sort of moral guidance or ethical guidance? And would even the American people allow an atheist to provide ethical, moral guidance without, referring to a higher being? Is a huge freaking question.
We might have to wrap up soon.
Yeah. So I don't really have any sighs. Like the one sigh I have is when you fully realize that a character is intersex, is when she is about to have sex with someone. And that seems to be like a trope, sort of an unhealthy trope in film, where like someone didn't know someone was intersex and they find out that this person doesn't have the genitalia that they assume this person to have based on how they presented. And so I don't know, that sort of was like, unless you sort of explore that more, if you just put that in the film without exploring it more, it seems sort of I don't know, like cliche in some ways.
I know exactly what you mean. It's just
like that Netflix film. Remember that Netflix film?
Yes,
about
the one about the kings.
No.
Like the one about the prison.
No. I'm talking about the documentary about trans people in film. Do you remember? Disclosure. Yeah. So Disclosure sort of explores some of those tropes. Neptune Frost almost like, I feel like at one point sort of went into that unhealthy trope.
I think also, if for those of you that watch P-Valley, I think that has been a lot of people's biggest, a lot of biggest hang up with P-Valley, because the queer character, the trans character, or like kind of like the gender bending character in that story, not only is he a main character, but he finds love or he finds a relationship. And it's like, we just haven't seen that. We've always seen these like you need to be sexless queer characters. Okay. All right. Sorry. I tried. We have a baby. Ben, with that being said, why don't you warp up the show?
I will get out of here.
I'm out.
In conclusion, this is a great film. You should watch it. Just be ready to like focus on it. It does take some time. You can watch it on Amazon. Listening to Saul Williams' albums, Martyr, Loser, King is a great album. This is sort of an accompaniment to that album. You can check that out on Spotify. We didn't even talk about that. But up next, we will be watching Jordan Peele's new movie, Nope. Bye y'all.